I'm sure many of you guys at home make your own predictions for upcoming fights. Perhaps a little side bet with a friend. It's something that can make the sport we love just that little bit more interesting.
He's so far the better boxer of these two, it's scary. I don't see what skill just seen Quick. I've seen Quick nearly trip up himself.
But when people who are actively involved in the boxing world make predictions, it's something they have to be held to account for, whether they get it right or wrong.
Loses the first 3 rounds, he does that all the time. He will not be able to catch up, although he'll finish stronger. But I give it to Pacquiao by 1 round.
Well, that's interesting analysis right there.
As you can imagine, there have been endless amounts of fight predictions made correctly. But today, we'll be focusing on the 5 that sprung to my mind when thinking about excellent fight analysis. For me, Emanuel Steward is nothing short of a boxing mastermind. He understands a fighter on a deeper level compared to the vast majority of coaches. Ask anyone who has ever met him, and they'll tell you the same.
The greatest trainer of my time, and really probably is no one that could rank higher than Emanuel Steward. He was up there with the best of them.
Emanuel trained a staggering 41 world champions in his amazing 40-year career as a coach, including fighters like Thomas Hearns, Gerald McClellan, Lennox Lewis, and Vladimir Klitschko, who certainly wouldn't have had the careers they did if it wasn't for Emanuel's guidance.
Go land. Don't give a whether you land or not, just let him go. Don't worry about you, ain't gonna be a fight, but you gotta let punches go. You can't wait until they get, if you miss it, bang, and go right back. And don't take 30 seconds to start another punch.
Emanuel, sadly, passed away on October 25, 2012. But just 4 months before his battle with cancer came to an end, he made the most extraordinary prediction.
There's a certain toughness inside of Tyson Fury. Don't ever listen to me, Tyson. Everyone says he's all good, he's just that. But I know him personally. He's lived with in my home, too. There's a certain toughness inside of him that outside of the little boyishness that I see that's going to make him the dominant person if he stabilizes himself. Once he settles down on a solid training program, whichever way else, and really gets into his just boxing, with his natural talent and his engaging personality and his physical size, he's going to be a big factor in boxing. I've always felt that after Latimer, he's going to be the next dominant heavyweight. But there's one kid in America that no one speaks of, and that's Deontay Wilder. He was on the Olympic team. He lost the big kid. And I've had the fortune of, he's came and trained with me before too. And he's a big kid. He's bigger than Latimer too. But he's got good speed and power. And I think best talent is still going to be Tyson and Deontay Wilder.
For the people watching this who didn't quite understand what Emanuel just predicted here, let me break it down for you. In 2012, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder were just heavyweight prospects. Fury was the British champion who held a good win over Derek Chisora, but had shown a lot of potential flaws in his game. He barely scraped past domestic rival John McDermott in their first contest and appeared to lack in any of the real quality needed to become the #1 heavyweight in the world. To be honest, at this point he was probably best known for punching himself in the face during a contest.
Fury, you can hear him grunting with effort as he unloads. Desperate call on there.
But from 2013 to 2015, he made vast improvements in his game and took the 10-year reigning champion Vladimir Klitschko to school, becoming the #1 heavyweight in the world.
Either the heavyweight championship of the world just changed hands, or we're about to witness a horrible robbery.
Deontay Wilder in 2012 was on little to nobody's radar at all. He had literally fought absolutely no names in the division. He knocked out 15 or 20 low-tier fighters and still looked to be nowhere near title level in terms of resume and skill set.
Deontay Wilder, the next great American heavyweight.
No, he's not the next great American heavyweight. I don't think so.
And then, just a few months before Fury dethroned Klitschko in 2015, Wilder picked up the WBC title by taking Bermane Stiverne to school. Both Fury and Wilder have remained undefeated and are now recognized among the best heavyweights in the world, alongside Anthony Joshua, another fighter I'm sure Emanuel would have loved to have seen in the pros. After all, he was always a fan of big punchers.
The first time when Emanuel saw me, he said, "You're a power puncher and I love knockout." I said, "Me too, I love knockout." So he said, the Chrome Gym is knockout because knockout sell.
How Emanuel knew these two would become the dominant force in the division is beyond me. but I think it kind of speaks volumes for how much of an understanding he has to measure certain attributes in a fighter. HBO commentator and boxing analyst Jim Lampley is hands down one of the most recognized and respected men in the sport today. He has hosted HBO's World Championship Boxing since 1988 and has built up an extreme knowledge and understanding of the sport along the way.
And is that based on anything besides all the years you know of every fighter ever, or is it something more specific to Manny in this case?
There have been times where you can tell that boxing is far more than just a job to him, getting emotional after events and laying his truthful opinion on the line.
But tonight he showed us one more time, and he was still Manny Pacquiao.
One of the greatest, but ultimately saddest calls I've personally ever seen him make was back in September 2005, when IBF champion Levander Johnson made his first title defense against Jesus Chavez.
The title holder opened as a slight favorite in this fight. He is now more than a 2-to-1 underdog.
Never had Johnson taken such a one-sided beating in the ring. Round after round, Chavez punished him with combinations. It was speculated Johnson was injured going into the bout, but his father, who was also his coach at ringside, kept sending his son out even though it was becoming more apparent that he should have waved the contest off after round 8. At the start of round 11, Jim's expert opinion came to fruition. Listen closely to the comments he makes regarding Johnson's fight so far.
Picking up on that conversation I was having with Emmanuel, in the recent history of the sport, when you look at fights where one fighter has been badly, sometimes permanently damaged, two constants seem to be part of the formula. Number one, the opponent who is doing all the damage is a hard hitter but not a big enough puncher to put the opponent away. That's Chavez in this fight. Number two, the guy who is getting worked over has his father in the corner as his trainer, constantly sending him back out to take more punishment. It's just a coincidence, we hope, that those two factors
should be stopped.
Out of respect for Johnson's family, we didn't feel the need to show how the fight ended, but it was no longer than 20 seconds after Lampley made the insight. Following the fight, Johnson collapsed and was diagnosed with a blood clot on the brain, after which he was induced into a coma. With his organs failing, his family decided to remove care, and on September 22, 2005, Johnson sadly passed away with his 4 children at his bedside. Muhammad Ali was by far the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world during the 1960s. These were his true prime years, where he moved his feet like no other and could literally end a fight at any time due to his amazing speed and power.
The way he's been talking about.
(1961 to 1964) would go on to be known as the Nostradamus era for Muhammad Ali, as he correctly predicted both the outcome and round of 9 out of 10 fights in a row. One of the most famous was his call on British contender Henry Cooper, where on a number of occasions he told the fans straight that the fight would end in round 5.
This is back when Muhammad Ali was still Cassius Clay, before he became Muhammad Ali. And Henry Cooper was like the big English heavyweight.
Well, Henry Cooper's nothing but a tramp. He's a bum. I'm the world's greatest. He must fall in 5 rounds.
Henry Cooper's nothing to me. If this bum go over 5 rounds, I won't return to the United States for 30 days. That's final.
People close by him during his early career have actually said he correctly predicted the first 15 fights of his career, which to be honest wouldn't surprise me. After all, he is and will always be known as the greatest.
I'm hollering loud because I can back up every word. And I whoop any man in the world, and I want everybody out there on TV to know it. I am the greatest.
Years later, in an interview in the UK, Ali broke silence on why he stopped predicting his contests.
Back in '63, I predicted, this is no jive, Cooper shall go in 5. In round 2, Cooper hit me with left hook and knocked me down. Muhammad Ali is down. He's down. The big mouth is shut. The big mouth is shut. The big mouth is shut. How's he gonna explain? Didn't you?
I wouldn't do that.
Not really a prediction as such, but just an insight into how great this man was. Sam Langford was a fighter who was active from 1902 to 1926. He fought close to 300 times and moved up from featherweight to heavyweight, where he would take on the very best fighters in the world. In fact, he actually holds the record for the most Hall of Fame fights in history. Another thing Langford was known for during his career was his ferocious punching power, which brings us a story of one of his fights during the 1920s.
You know, this is one little tale about him. Before one fight, Langford was walking around the edge of the ring and he started addressing the crowd purely on his own. And he said, "Oh, sorry guys, I hope you don't mind if I make this a short fight, but I've got a train to catch." And then what happened is the fight started. Langford knocked him out in about 90 seconds and then quickly said, "Oh, sorry everyone," and got out of the ring and shot off.
Incredibly, he actually caught his train, which I think is a testament to his power and ability. Another similar story took place when Langford came out for the 7th round against a fighter named Jack Thompson. He started to undo his gloves slightly before they started fighting, when Thompson said, "Hey, you do know it's not the last round. Why are you undoing your gloves?" Langford replied, "But it's the last round for you, my friend." Seconds later, Langford knocked him out with the very first punch. Legendary fighter Jake LaMotta, known for his incredible fight series with Sugar Ray Robinson, where he would become the first man to defeat Robinson in 131 fights. Yes, you heard that right, 131 fights.
Met in 1942, Robinson winning a unanimous decision. 4 months later, LaMotta was victorious. Robinson's first ever defeat, and his only loss in his first 131 fights.